Have you ever stood at the edge of a new beginning, looking at the door that has just opened before you and felt completely, utterly frozen? Maybe it is a new job that you did not expect to get, a new city where you do not know a single soul, or a quiet, terrifying chapter you are forced to start after a devastating loss. It might even be a calling that feels so incredibly massive that you feel like an imposter just thinking about it. You stand there, looking at the threshold, waiting. You tell yourself that you are just waiting for the right moment. But if we are being completely honest with ourselves, we are actually waiting for the fear to leave. But what if the problem is not that you are not ready, or that you do not have enough strength, or that you are somehow unqualified for what is ahead? What if the real issue is that you have been waiting for the fear to leave before you make your first move? And what if that is the one thing God never promised would happen first? I want to share something with you that took me years of stumbling to finally understand. The courage to begin does not show up before you take the step. It actually meets you in the middle of the step. By the time we finish this short conversation, you are going to understand exactly what to do with the fear that has been keeping you standing still at the edge of your threshold. There is a passage of scripture that has been printed on countless posters, cards, and journals, but we rarely sit with the weight of the context behind it. In the first chapter of the book of Joshua, in the 9th verse, we find these words: "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest." Look closely at how that starts. Have not I commanded thee? God does not say, I suggest you try to feel brave. He does not say, I hope you can muster up some confidence. He commands it. It is a direct order. Think about the moment Joshua was living through when he heard these words. He had just lost Moses. Moses was not just a leader, he was the greatest leader the nation had ever known. He was the one who stood before Pharaoh, the one who parted the Red Sea, the one who spoke with God face to face. And now Moses is dead. The entire nation is grieving, and millions of eyes are turning to Joshua, waiting for him to lead them into a promised land filled with fortified cities and giants. Joshua is likely terrified, feeling the crushing weight of grief and inadequacy. Yet God's response to Joshua's terror is not to give him a detailed plan, and he does not remove the terrifying armies waiting across the river. Instead, God gives him a direct order to move anyway. Let's look at how this plays out in real life by contrasting two different ways of standing at a threshold. Imagine the first person. Let's call them the researcher. They are standing at the edge of a new beginning. Maybe it's starting a business, or finally writing that book, or moving into a new phase of life after a long period of stagnation. The researcher spends hours analysing every potential pitfall. They read every book, run every scenario, and constantly seek advice. They tell themselves, I'll take the first step when I feel more certain. I just need to feel more equipped, more ready. So they stay on the edge. Months turn into years, and they are still standing on the shore, analysing the water. They look incredibly competent on the outside, but on the inside they are slowly drowning in their own hesitation. Now look at the second person. We can call them the runner. The runner is facing the exact same unknown territory, the exact same financial risks, the same feelings of inadequacy, and the same physical tightness of fear in their chest. But their behaviour is different. They do not wait for the fear to vanish. They do not wait to feel fully qualified. They pack their bags, they open the door, and they take a single step forward, even while their knees are shaking. They move not because they have all the answers, but because they believe that God's presence goes with them into the unknown, not after they have conquered it on their own. If we break down Joshua 1:9 like an engineer examining a blueprint, we see that it is built on 4 distinct load-bearing pillars. The first pillar is the command to be strong. This is not a request for you to magically feel strong or to pretend you have no limitations. It is an instruction to act from a position of strength that has already been provided to you. It means making the decision to operate based on the reality of God's capacity, not your own human reserves. The second pillar is to be of a good courage. Courage is often misunderstood as the absence of fear, but that is a myth. Courage is the action you take when you are still terrified. It is the choice to say, I feel the fear, but I am going to move my feet anyway. The third pillar is the command, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. The word dismayed in the original language is particularly interesting. It refers to being broken or shattered by panic, to the point where you are completely paralyzed. God is not saying you won't feel anxiety. He is commanding you not to let that anxiety have the final vote in your life. He is ordering you not to let panic freeze you in place. And the fourth pillar is the foundation that holds everything else up. For the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. Notice the nature of this promise. God does not promise Joshua a guarantee that nothing will go wrong, or that the path will be easy. The promise is not a perfect outcome, it is a present companion. He is telling you that he does not wait for you at the destination. He walks with you through the dust of the journey. Think about the first time a pilot flies solo. They have spent months in the classroom. They have memorized the manuals, practiced in the simulator, and flown dozens of hours with an instructor sitting right next to them, ready to grab the controls if anything goes wrong. But then comes the day when the instructor steps out of the plane, closes the door, and leaves them alone on the runway. The runway is the same, the aeroplane is the same, and the weather is the same. But everything shifts the moment they release the brakes and push the throttle forward. The fear does not suddenly vanish. If anything, their heart is beating faster than ever. But they cannot wait for the fear to leave before they take off. The flight begins because they choose to trust the training and the physics of the aircraft, moving forward despite the adrenaline coursing through their veins. The fear remains, but the plane climbs into the sky anyway. Let's look at a few common signs that you might be stuck in this cycle of beginning paralysis. Perhaps you know exactly what step you are supposed to take. Maybe it is initiating a difficult conversation, applying for that job, or leaving a toxic situation. But you keep pushing the start date back. You tell yourself you'll start next Monday, or after the holidays, or when things quiet down. That does not mean you are lazy or faithless. It means you are waiting for an easy path that does not exist. Or maybe you have been praying about the same decision for months, asking God for signs and clarity, but you still haven't made a single physical move. That does not mean you are waiting on God. It often means you are using prayer as a hiding place to avoid the discomfort of obedience. Or perhaps you feel a genuine calling to step into a new area of service or personal growth. But you keep finding reasons why now is not the right time, listing your family commitments, your financial state, or your age as excuses. That does not mean you are being responsible. It means you have allowed the size of the calling to dwarf the size of the one who called you. This is where most of us get it wrong. We treat Joshua 1:9 like a nice piece of motivational advice, something we read to feel a temporary burst of inspiration. But we treat the courage as something we have to manufacture inside ourselves before we obey the command. We think we have to feel brave first, and then we will step out. But God's design is the exact opposite. The courage is commanded because the presence is guaranteed. You do not wait to feel courage before you step. You step into the obedience, and the courage meets you on the path. Waiting to feel brave before you begin is exactly backwards. It is like a child waiting to feel warm before they put on their winter coat. You put the coat on and the warmth follows. You take the step and the courage arrives. If you want to stop standing at the edge and start moving, we have to look at how to put this command into practice. First, we must saturate our minds with God's truth as the source of steady courage. In Joshua chapter 1 verse 8, God tells Joshua to meditate on his word day and night. When we face new beginnings, our minds naturally fill with worst-case scenarios. We must replace those anxious thoughts with the unchanging character of God. This means stopping the habit of rehearsing your fears and starting the habit of rehearsing His promises. Second, you must take the first physical step even before the entire plan is clear. We often want to see the whole route map before we leave the driveway. But God's guidance is like a lantern in the dark. It only lights up the very next step. Stop asking for the destination and simply ask what obedience looks like for the next 24 hours. Third, you need to name your fear out loud to God instead of trying to manage it internally. When we keep our anxiety locked inside our own thoughts, it grows larger and more distorted. When we bring it into the light of prayer, naming the specific worries, we strip them of their power. And fourth, you must identify one specific action you have been delaying and commit to doing it today. It does not have to be a massive leap. It can be writing one email, making one phone call, or filling out one application. Treat today as the day you stop negotiating with your fear and start obeying the command. When you live by this principle, you will notice a quiet shift in your life. It is not that the new beginning suddenly becomes easy or that all your problems miraculously disappear. The mountains are still high and the rivers are still deep, but the fear stops having the final vote in your decisions. You find yourself moving forward anyway. This is no longer something you have to force through sheer willpower. You simply realize that the one who walked with Joshua through the Jordan River is the very same one walking beside you today. This journey is not about your personal readiness. It is about His constant availability. It is not about the strength you feel. It is about the command you obey. It is not about seeing the path. It is about trusting the guide. It is not about your hold on courage. It is about His hold on you. If you are standing at a threshold today and you are ready to stop waiting for the fear to leave, I want you to take a small step of action right now. Leave a comment below, starting with the words, "Lord, I will step into," and name the specific new beginning you have been avoiding. Let this be your physical declaration of movement. And if you know someone who is currently standing at their own threshold, feeling overwhelmed and frozen by the future, share this message with them today. Let them know they do not have to walk alone. We publish these quiet devotions to help you find space to remember who God is. If you want to keep building that space with us, please subscribe.